I'm making this video because I think the person that has clicked on this video has been praying and praying for a miracle to happen in their life. Maybe you're going through some kind of adversity or trial in your life, and you've been praying and praying, and it hasn't gone away yet. And so I'm here to tell you that you have to be patient with God. You cannot grow impatient with the plan that God has because God knows everything. And so if God knows everything, He knows what's best for me. And if He knows what's best for me, why am I trying to force His hand to do what I want when He knows what's best for me? And so today I want to talk about Joshua and Joshua chapter 14. This is something that I read throughout my devotionals in the morning and during the night. And as I was going through Joshua chapter 14, this passage resonated with me and includes Caleb's inheritance, the inheritance that Caleb received because he, as well as Joshua, obeyed God. And we see this in Numbers chapter 13 as you have 12 spies sent out to the land of Canaan, which is known as the Promised Land, sent by Moses to scout out the land, do some reconnaissance, and see what type of army they're facing. And so when they come back and tell Moses what they saw, 10 of those spies said that this land is too much, there's too many powerful enemies, we can't fight them, let's just leave, right? It's better if we just stayed in Egypt. And you have two spies, Joshua and Caleb, who said that no, God has gotten us this far, He's going to be faithful again. Let's put our trust in Him. Why are we running away from this? And so because they obeyed God in that situation, they were able to enter the promised land and those spies did not. But what does that have to do with this passage we see in Joshua? Because the passage I mentioned is in Numbers. Why are we talking about Numbers when we're in the book of Joshua? Well, it's been 45 years later and Caleb hasn't received that inheritance yet until now. Let's read Joshua chapter 14, verse 7, which says, Caleb says, I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of Yahweh, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought word back to him as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brothers who went up with me made the heart of the people melt with fear, but I followed Yahweh my God fully. So Moses swore on the day, saying, Surely the land on which your foot has trodden will be an inheritance to you and to your children forever, because you have followed Yahweh my God fully. So now behold, Yahweh has let me live, just as He has spoken these 45 years, from the time that Yahweh spoke this word to Moses, when Israel walked in the wilderness. So now behold, I am 85 years old. I am still strong today, as I was in the day Moses sent me, as my strength was then. So my strength is now for war and for going out and coming in. We see that in this passage, Caleb was only 40 in Numbers chapter 13, and now in Joshua chapter 14, he is 85. That is 45 years that has passed, and now Caleb is receiving the promise. Some of us in our lives cannot wait a day for our prayers to be answered, and yet we turn our backs on God, or we say that God has been unfaithful, or we say that God doesn't like us, or that He hasn't heard us. But that's not true, is it? God kept Caleb. He kept him alive and healthy for this long so that he could receive the promise, that is, when he was 85. And so we need to trust in the timing that God has given us. Maybe the promise and the breakthrough that you're looking for in your life, maybe it won't happen today. Maybe it won't even happen tomorrow. Maybe it won't happen in a year, 10 years, how many years it may be, how much time it may be. We need to trust in the plan that God has for our lives, especially for Christians. We cannot lose hope when we serve a faithful God who has been with Israel for generations, a faithful God who has been with mankind when we have rebelled against God over and over again. We need to be trusting in God, and we need to be patient with God. Stop being impatient. Start being more patient. Stop trying to gain control of your situation, and I mentioned that in the past video, but start giving God the control over your situation. Again, God doesn't really need your permission, but you need to have God control your situation. You need to surrender it to God for your life. Caleb waited 45 years for the promise to be made, yet some of us can't even wait a day for a prayer that we made to God, which He doesn't even have to answer us in the first place. So I hope this video blessed you and helped you realize that we need to start being more patient and trust in the timing that God has for our life. Take care and God bless.